Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today we're going to talk about Commander and Magic rules and AI. This is going to be something new for this channel. Probably not really a series. We may revisit this at some point. We will see. I have no idea what to expect from this episode. We're going to be very off script. Usually my rules videos, the Tough Rules and Cool Interactions series, goes by a very strict script that I read from. This one, I have a general idea of what I'll be talking about, but a lot of this is going to be off script, so we're going to see how this works. So I recently got a notification on my phone about this Google Gemini, which is basically Google's version of ChatGPT or GDP or whatever that thing's called, and I'd never used an AI thing before, so I started messing around with it. I was actually using the app on my phone for a little bit, and I've also been using the desktop version, asking it random questions about like movies and what's the best stock to invest in, weird, crazy things, just to see what its answers are. And of course, as a Magic player, I started to ask it some Magic questions. Started asking it about Commander, what's a good deck to build, or random questions like that. And it was just really interesting to see the results that I was getting, the things that it got right, the things that it got wrong. So it got me thinking, what if we could use it to help with rules? What if you're a Magic player and you're mid-game and you just have a question that you need answered and a Google search just doesn't come up with an answer? Can these AI things be used for that? So I asked only just a couple rules questions just to kind of prod and see what we could come up with, and again, got some interesting results. So I spent some time, came up with this list. I kind of have it broken up into 3 sections of easy questions, slightly tougher questions that get into like more specific cards that we're looking to use to see if the Gemini is able to understand like the actual cards, and then I get into like the toughest kind of questions, things that are just concepts that can give even advanced players, more experienced players, a troublesome time of figuring it out. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, hopefully not too long, but I might expand upon some of these things. I might further go in depth because I think that the AI is very aware of like previous questions that you've asked, and so I'm going to maybe some of these questions I ask it. I wanted to try to ask these questions the way you would ask if you were actually asking a judge. If you went onto a forum, if you went onto Reddit, Discord, something like that, or you just had a judge in front of you, I kind of try to phrase these like that to see if the AI can understand that. Hopefully I do good on pronunciations. Hopefully I do well on enunciating all these things, and I don't confuse the AI by just mispronouncing some of the things. So again, I haven't really used this that much, so hopefully I don't make a fool of myself in this. And let's just jump into it. I think, I've got it set up to use the microphone, and we're just going to start off with... Oh no, what? That's really weird. I've already done. All right, yes, remember. Oh, I didn't click remember. Sure, we'll do remember. Allow. Okay. Oh, it's already asking. Oh no, it's already listening to me. We'll submit. All right. All right, whatever. I'm not even going to read that. Okay. What are the steps and phases in Magic the Gathering? Magic the Gathering. All right, so it's actually given some pretty detailed responses. All right, wow, that is a long... Okay, so it gets into beginning phase, untap step, upkeep step, draw step. Let's see, untap all your permanents. It's interesting. It doesn't mention about like phasing things phasing in. It doesn't mention day night in there, so that's not too crucial, but it's just interesting it's not mentioned. Upkeep. I'm not actually going to read this because, man, this with how many of these comments that I came up with, I probably should have broken this up into multiple episodes. We'd probably be here for a while if I was reading all this, but it does have main phase, pre-combat, combat phase, optional, beginning of combat, declare attacks, declare blocks, combat, end of combat, second main phase, post-combat, ending phase, instep, and cleanup. All right, I'm curious what it says about cleanup. This is where some housekeeping happens. Now, I think that it is just kind of, pulling it. It just kind of skims other things. So these easy questions here probably are just going to be giving, things that it has read from like a wiki page or something of that sort. All right, so let's get a little further into it. What is app nap order? All right, it actually did get the app nap. And I didn't ask specifically about magic. I just said, what does AppNap order? So it is remembering that we're talking about magic. So AppNap stands for active player, non-active player, refers to the order in which triggered abilities are placed on the stack when multiple abilities trigger at the same time in MTG. Here's how it works. Triggered abilities, stack resolution, AppNap order. When placing triggers abilities on the stack, the active player, the player's turn it is, puts the triggered abilities on the stack first in any order, then the non-active player, the opponent, does the same for their triggered abilities. Why is AppNap important? It's really cool that it gives these kind of things, that it actually like tells you what it is, and that it includes these kind of additional things. Why is AppNap important? By understanding AppNap, you can strategically sequence your triggered ability. That's really, really cool that it gives those kind of things. All right, let's move on to the next thing. What is the stack? Again, not strictly asking magic, but it's remembering that we're talking about magic. In magic, the stack acts like a waiting zone for spells and abilities before they take effect. It's like a line where things wait their turn to happen. Here's the breakdown. Purpose. What goes on the stack? All right, casting spells, activating non-mana abilities, triggered abilities, order on the stack, last in, first out. Okay, resolving the stack. Why is the stack important? Okay, it's another one where it talks about, why is this important? Interesting, interesting. All right, let's keep going. What is priority? Priority in Magic is a system that determines who gets to act first. All right, players who receive, active player, after any action, passing priority, responding to actions, moving on. And why is it important? All right, interesting, interesting. All right, let's keep going. If an ability is activated by a creature, does destroying that creature in response stop the ability from resolving? And you guys might hear my fountain there going on in the background. All right, now this is the first question that I figured would give this thing a bit of a trick. Okay, no, destroying the creature in response won't stop the ability from resolving in Magic the Gathering. Here's why. Once on the stack, yeah. Independent of source, last known information. Oh, wow, it even includes things about last known information. And it provides an example. All right, you have a creature with an ability that says tap, destroy target creature. You activate the ability and tap the creature. Your opponent, in response, destroys your creature with a kill spell. Even though your creature has destroyed, the ability to destroy another creature is already on the stack and will still resolve. You'll be able to target one of your opponent's creatures with the destruction effect. Interesting, interesting. It's interesting how it phrases this. Because to get in some of the nitty-gritty, it says tap to destroy target creature, which means the second the ability was activated, you would have had to have already targeted it. So it's kind of interesting that it says you'll be able to target one of your opponent's creatures rather than you'll be able to destroy because you've already had to choose the target. All right, but still pretty cool. Key points, destroying this. All right, cool. Let's keep going. What happens if a spell loses all of its legal targets? In Magic, if a spell loses all of its legal targets before it resolves, the spell will be fizzled. Interesting. Okay. Here's a breakdown. Wow, that's a big breakdown. All right. Important exceptions. Modal spells. Some spells have multiple modes, each with its own targeting requirements. As long as its targets are legal. All right. Choose one effects. Fizzle if all options require targets. Doesn't require a target, the spell can still resolve. Okay, all right. And it provides some more examples. And then understanding targeting. Oh, yeah, and sorry if this jumps around a lot. My mouse wheel has been on the fritz lately, and sometimes when I scroll down, it just like scrolls up for part of that. So hopefully that doesn't get anybody motion sick or anything like that. Choose targets carefully. Yeah. So, all right, cool. Instant speed removal, alternative targets. By understanding this concept of fizzling, it's interesting to see how these have such a similar of like, it explains what it is, it provides examples, and then it does the whole like, this whole thing at the end where it's like, by understanding this, why is this important? It's really interesting. All right, let's keep going. We're almost to the tougher section. Where do we leave off? All right. If I gain control of a creature, can I attack with it that same turn? No. In most cases, you cannot attack with a creature you gain control of during the same turn in Magic due to a rule called Summoning Sickness. All right. Exceptions. There are a few ways to bypass Summoning Sickness creature. Haste and effects that remove Summoning Sickness. All right, why is this in place? Summoning Sickness helps maintain game balance. It prevents players from overwhelming their opponents with a sudden influx of attacking creatures the moment they gain control. In summary, I think, is this the only one that's done it in summary? And it's cool because all this stuff, it keeps track of it. And there's really interesting stuff. Like, yeah, you can like thumbs up, thumbs down, share. There's a double check option where it'll actually do a straight up like Google search, which is weird because this is Google Gemini. So I don't know if it just means that it tries to forego the AI and it just does a strict Google search where it's not using the AI. And I think you can even like highlight text and like edit specific things in your searches. I do look forward to getting more into this, so we'll see where that goes. But I think this is the first one that does the in summary. And it also will keep track of like your recent searches over here, which is pretty cool. You can like have a log of those kind of things. Okay. So I don't think this mentions anything about like ignoring haste through like tap effects or something like that. If you, but I didn't ask that specifically. I just kind of asked, and it did get it correct that you actually. All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. There's the microphone. Do token copies of permanents have a mana cost? In Magic the Gathering, whether a token copy of a permanent has a mana cost depends on what it's a copy of. Copy of permanent with mana cost, the token, okay. Okay, all right, so yeah, these are just questions that I hear a lot in some games so far. But again, it's just kind of really just regurgitating probably what it has skimmed from something. I kind of wish it had like a source option. I wonder if that, we'll check that at some point, maybe later in the video. I don't want to screw anything up with my screen here. But it'd be cool if there was like, yeah, if it had like a citation provided maybe for where it pulled this information. But I guess that would kind of defeat the purpose of AI somewhat, but because it's probably pulling it from multiple different places. Converted mana cost, oh, it still uses CMC. Exceptions are exceptions kind of like embalm, eternalize, create tokens specifically that have no mana cost, even though that. Okay, it's including these things. That's strange though that it still uses converted mana cost. I wonder if it's pulling this from an old source that still uses CMC rather than mana value. And after this, I'm gonna go through and read through some of this, maybe not most, but some of this, and see just how specific some of this stuff is. Maybe I include that. And if you guys see anything, if you see any of this kind of stuff false, if you pause a video and like read through this kind of stuff, please include the comments, because I'm just trying to skim through as fast as I can so this video doesn't end up being an hour plus long. That would be my longest video yet. Let's see the in summary. As most token copies inherit the mana cost of the permanent they're copying, generic tokens and specific exceptions. Okay. All right, cool. All right, use microphone. All right, where do we leave off? Yes, this question. Is Shrine a creature type? Nope, Shrine is not a creature type. Oh, it even says it can be a bit confusing because there was a cycle of shrines in the Kamigawa. That's just, I just find it really fascinating, the whole, like, here's the breakdown. You know, Shrine is an enchantment subtype. Correct, yeah. All right. Oh, wait. Oh, here actually is the link. Yeah, I was just talking about that. Shrine remains an enchantment. Have both types, and it's to Reddit. Very interesting. General rule. As a general rule, you can't use Shrine to target a creature. You can't use Shrine to target a creature with effects that require a creature type because Shrine is not. Okay. And in summary. All right. Interesting. Is food a creature type? Nope. All right, cool. Oh, wow. Oh, no, it's still going. All right, it looks kind of similar. All right, cool. And then last of the easy questions. If I crew my vehicle the turn it entered the battlefield, can I attack with it? All right. You guys get to hear all my coughs and sniffles on this one. I'm not going to be doing as much editing here. Okay, wow, that was a long answer. All right, no, you typically cannot attack with a crewed vehicle the same turn it entered the battlefield due to summoning sickness in Magic the Gathering. Here's why. Summoning sickness, crewing a vehicle, yeah, applying. Even though crewing transforms the vehicle into a creature, it's technically a new permanent entering the battlefield under your control. Since it hasn't been there since the turn began, it has summoning sickness. Exceptions, probably talks about, yep, haste, and then summary. All right, very cool, very cool. All right, so that's the last of the easy questions. I'm actually, so for this next section, the tougher section, part of me almost thinks that some of these are actually going to be more tricky for this than the toughest section, because the toughest section, a lot of it it's tougher for like humans, for us to understand these concepts and these mechanics, these rules and kind of stuff, but it'd probably be easier for a computer to just regurgitate it, because it'll probably just be, pasting it from the comprehensive rules and things like that. Whereas this section, the medium kind of difficulty, is going to be a lot of very specific call-outs of very specific cards. And based on the stuff that I was seeing before when I was asking it to like build a deck or like what's the best commander and things like that, it struggled with a lot of that. Like it got concepts, strategies, themes, it got those things right, but it would straight up get what like the effects of cards did very wrong in some cases, but just kind of off and wrong in some other cases. So let's start off. Again, I've not done any of this, so I'm curious, really curious, to see where we go with this. And hopefully I have phrased these questions in a good, smart, AI understandably done way. Will doubling season cause my Garruk Primal Hunter to enter the battlefield with twice as many loyalty counters? All right, moment of truth. No, doubling season does not cause Garruk Primal to enter the battlefield twice the number of loyalty counters in Magic the Gathering. Here's why. Oh, all right, this is interesting because it does actually cause it. This is just wrong straight up. Doubling season doubles counters. Doubling season affects specifically counters that are added or removed. Okay, yes, and it's a replacement effect for how the Planeswalker enters. Loyalty counters on entering. Planeswalkers like Garruk come with a set starting loyalty depending on the mana cost. These loyalty counters are not added when the Planeswalker enters the battlefield. They are inherent to the permanent itself. Doubling season doesn't apply to this scenario. What doubling season does for Garruk. Although doubling season won't affect his starting, it can affect Garruk's abilities in other ways. Okay, so it talks about the token generation. If you use this +1 that creates a 3/3 beast. Let's see if that's actually, let's pull that up here. I'm holding my pop filter with my other hand, so I can't really, I'm having to do all this with the mouse and keyboard. Okay, so his +1 is his one that creates a 3/3. 3/3, so we'll make 2 of these. All right, double card draw. What? Similarly, you could use Garruk's -3 to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures. Doubling season will make you draw double that number of cards. All right, see, this is the stuff that I was noticing. All right, this is, it does not do that. Doubling season does not, in fact, do that. Double worm tokens, and I believe that's what his -6 does. Yeah, it creates for each land you control. But let's see why it thinks that. Let's see. The ultimate ability, the -6, is interesting that these are done in +1, -3, but this one it does the -6 in parentheses. Oh, and here's like, yeah, modify selected text. So I wonder if I modify this and save it, does the AI like know that I've corrected it? Does it interpret that as like changes? If I were to tell it that no, it does not double your card draw, will it learn from that? So it creates a 6/6 for each land you control. Doubling season will double the number of worm tokens. All right, I was wondering if it said like it doubles your land count and therefore that it doubles. All right, so doubling season won't affect its starting loyalty. It can, however, double the tokens and card draw. Wow, this is incredibly very wrong. I've already done a video on this. It's a replacement effect for how they enter, and doubling season does say that if an effect or ability would double, so it does do that, whereas it does not double the counters that you get for using their loyalty abilities, because it is a payment of that, and doubling season does not see that. So that is very, very wrong. It's especially wrong on this card draw aspect, but it did get the token part correct. So very interesting that it is that wrong already. And I think that's even my number. Yeah. All right, let's see if we ask it that, though. It's already said that let's see. If I control doubling season and activate the +1 loyalty ability on my Garruk Primal Hunter, will that cause him to get 2 loyalty counters? All right, let's see if it understands this one. It's thinking a little bit. Yes, that's correct. If you control doubling season and activate you'll get 2 loyalty counters. Did it actually say that in the last one? Set a loyalty. These only things added when are inherent. All right, yeah, I don't think it did say that. All right. States that if an effect would place 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, the number of counters placed is doubled. It does say that. It says if a... All right. Garrick's +1 ability, when you activate, it's an effect that adds... Yeah, but it adds it because that's part of the cost. Because it's on the battlefield, its effect applies, and the number of counters added is doubled, so Garrick would get 2 loyalty counters instead of 1. Remember, doubling season only affects counters that are being added or removed from a permanent, not the starting loyalty. Man, that's really weird. I wonder, I guess it's pulling this from some... I really wish it had sources so I could go and check out that source, because if it's pulling it from here, maybe that source is like the most Google clicked on source, that when people search for this on Google, maybe this is the one that they click on, and their SEO, their off-page SEO shows that they're staying on that page longer. And I don't know. Now I'm really curious, and I want to dig into this more. Okay, this is actually quite fascinating. I think we might be doing this video again. Okay, I got another doubling season question. Okay, let's see that. Will doubling season increase the number of creatures I get from making a copy of a permanent spell on the stack? Okay, let's see what it comes up with. I kind of want to sometimes like pause and... Oh, it's taking a while to think on this one. No, doubling season will not increase the number of creatures you get from copying a permanent spell with an effect like Lithoform Engine on the stack in Magic the Gathering. Here's why. Okay, it got this one right so far. Doubling season's ability triggers? Well, that's it's not a triggered ability. It's a replacement effect. Doubling season's ability triggers when an effect would put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control. This happens during the resolution of a spell. It's weird that it's talking about counters when I'm talking about tokens. And it's interesting, like some of these words, it looks like it's bold. So on some of these things, I don't know if that's going to be picking up for you guys on the video when you're watching it because of the low bit rates that YouTube does, but it's kind of bold, like right here. Of a spell or ability, not when it's placed on the stack. Copying spells don't use counters. When you copy a permanent spell, you're creating a new permanent on the battlefield, not adding counters. Doubling season doesn't interact with this process. Okay, yes, that's true. Why it keeps talking about counters, I don't know. And it says that you're creating a new permanent. You're not creating. That's one of the reasons why it doesn't. Let's pull up doubling season. All right, there we go. Typing with one hand is kind of... I need to get a mount for... Oh, did we hit enter? All right, so it does say... Okay, so if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. So it explicitly says that an effect needs to create it, and it does need to use the word create. And when you guys make, in the game, when you make a copy of a permanent spell on the stack, then as it resolves, it just becomes a token. It is something that is just represented by a token. So you're not actually creating a token, and that's why this does not let you do that. It just becomes a permanent and is represented by a token. You're not actually creating a token. So it's so weird, the things that it is getting. All right, we scrolled up a little bit. All right, examples. You control doubling season. Okay. Oh, okay. It's going. This is one example. Each bullet point is not as separate. You cast Clone, targeting your opponent's 2/2 creature. Scenario 1, no doubling. Clone resolves, creating a token copy of the 2/2. What? No, Clone is not going to be a token copy. Well, this is... Oh, man. That enters the battlefield under your control. Doubling season has no effect here. Yeah, it doesn't because it's not a token. Because creating the token happens as part of the spell's resolution... Not by adding counters. Why does it keep going back to this? This is so fascinating, the things that it's getting wrong. Imagine the clone effect said create a token copy of target creature entering the battlefield. This uses the enters the battlefield trigger. Wow. Okay, what this video, oh my god, that's already been really, really long, and we're only on the first one. Man, there's so much wrong with that. In summary, okay, all right, there's a lot wrong with that. I said I wouldn't go too deep into these, but this is just fascinating. Do I have to pay for the propaganda attack for the creature I bring out with Kalia of the Vast? And I'm curious, if I ask these questions again and again and again, well, I always get the exact same answer. If I change things up, like instead of propaganda, if I said ghostly prison, would I get different results? All right, so no, you do not have to pay the additional cost to attack caused for the additional cost to it. It's not, all right, caused by propaganda if you use Kalia of the Vast ability to put a creature on the battlefield. Attacking, here's why. Propaganda triggers, when it doesn't really trigger, on declaration. Yeah, propaganda's ability that forces you to pay 2 mana to attack with a creature activates during the declare attacker's step. This is when you choose which creatures you want to attack with. Kalia bypasses declaration. When Kalia's ability resolves, it puts the angel, demon, or dragon directly onto the battlefield attacking. It bypasses the normal declare attacker step. No trigger, no cost. Since propaganda's ability only triggers during the declare attacker step, it's not a triggered ability. And Kalia's ability avoids that step. There's no opportunity for propaganda's ability to activate. It's so weird that it keeps using trigger and activate all for this. And it's neither an activated or triggered ability. Therefore, you don't have to pay the extra cost to activate with the creature brought in by Kalia. In summary, Kalia's ability puts a creature directly on the battlefield attacking. Okay. Well, it did better. It did better. So, all right, let's move on. If I cast Teferi's Protection, can my opponent still mill my library with a card like Maddening Cacophony? All right, it looks like it picked up Maddening Cacophony. Oh, no, it's still listening to me. Can I just stop it and then delete that? All right, I didn't know it'd still listen to me after I paused. All right, let's see. No, wait, what? If I cast series protection. Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Let's try that again. If I cast Teferi's Protection, can my opponent still mill my library with a card like Maddening Cacophony? And still do Teferi's Protection. Okay. Can my opponent still... It's weird that it capitalizes still mill. All right. Submit. Let's see what it does. This may not work just because it couldn't pick up on... all right. No casting Teferi's Protection will not prevent your opponents from milling your library with Maddening Cacophony. Here's why. That's... All right. So this instant exiles all activated abilities and triggered abilities on the stack and in all graveyards until end of turn. It doesn't affect spells or permanents. What? Maddening Cacophony. This is an instant spell, not an ability. Teferi's Protection only targets abilities, not spells. Oh, gosh. Exiling. Yeah. Is it thinking that it's like Time Stop? Because like Time Stop does activate abilities and triggered abilities and spells that are on the stack when you end the turn. But I love that it says that it does. It obviously doesn't exile anything like that. But I love that it says that it exiles them until end of turn. So does that mean at the end step, do these things come back onto the stack? Interesting. And it mentions nothing about phasing stacks and graveyard. Oh my goodness! You're milling with Teferi's Protection. Ironically, in some situations, Teferi's Protection might even help your opponents mill your library. Here's how. No. Okay. All right. That one's a big fail. Not looking too optimistic for this until the AI gets better. All right. Where are we at now? Does my phased out creature retain damage marked on it when a turn ends? All right. Let's see if does my phased out creature retain damage marked on it? All right. Let's see. Yes. What? Yes, damage marked on a phased out creature will remain on it even when the turn ends? That is not the case. Phased out doesn't remove damage. When a creature phases out, it essentially exists in a different phase of the game and temporarily disappears from the battlefield. However, phasing out doesn't remove damage. Okay, it doesn't remove it when it phases out, but damage removal happens in cleanup step. Damage removal happens during the cleanup step at the end of each turn. This is a specific moment after the declare attacker's step and before the draw of the next turn. Phased out creatures included. The cleanup step includes removing damage from all permanents regardless of their presence on the battlefield. Even though the phased out creature isn't technically on the battlefield, the game still considers it for damage removal purposes. Okay, so then, yes, damage marked. Why does it say, yes, damage marked on phased out creatures will remain on it even when the turn ends? And then it goes and that was just a false statement, and then it gets correct here. All right, here's a breakdown. Your creature takes damage. The creature phases out. Damage remains marked on it. Yes, that is true, which is what I think it might have been saying here, but it does explicitly say... all right, the turn ends. Cleanup step begins. Damage is removed from all permanents, including your phased out creature. Okay, so that's correct. Phasing in and damage. When the phased out creature phases back in, it will come back with any remaining damage still marked on it. You'll need to consider this damage when planning future actions with that creature. What a weird way to phrase. And in summary, damage marked on a creature stays on it even when it phases out, which, yes, it'll stay on it when it phases out, but damage is removed from all permanents during the cleanup step at the end of the turn. Wow. All right. Let's go to the next one. What happens to cards controlled by one player when another player that owns those cards leaves the game in a multiplayer game of Commander? All right. I really hope this is entertaining for you guys. Like, this is a very big change from what my channel has traditionally been about. I do want to grow it and more commandery kind of things. So we'll see how this does. In a multiplayer Commander game, when a player leaves the game, all cards they own, not just control, are exiled, and any effects that gave them control of other players' permanents end. Here's a... am I just reading that really weird? And any effects that gave them control of other players' permanents end. Okay, yeah. The effects end that... Okay. Cards owned by a leaving player. Exiled. All cards on the battlefield, in hand, library, graveyard, or anywhere else in the game that are owned by the leaving player are exiled. This includes their commander, if it's currently on the battlefield or commander. Leaving the game triggers. Cards that have abilities that trigger when a player leaves the game, like effects that return cards from exile. Yeah, it will not happen because the owner is no longer in the game. All right. It's talking about like one-shot effects, I think, maybe of like Oblivion. It's interesting that it hasn't given any specific examples of cards. Where earlier when I was getting it to build decks and stuff, it gave very specific examples. And finally, I'm not asking it about a specific card, and it doesn't look like it's providing any. Okay, cards controlled by leaving. All right, control ends. Any effects that gave the leaving player control end, these permanents will revert back to the control of the original owners. This applies to effects like stealing creatures with spell or abilities. Auras or equipment attached to creatures owned by other players will fall off and go to their owner's graveyard. Interesting. No trigger for returning. There's no triggered ability that automatically returns these permanents to their owner's battlefield. They will simply be in the owner's graveyard if they were creature attachments. I'm not really sure where it's going with that. Important considerations. Token copies. If the leaving player controlled any token copies like creature tokens or food tokens, these will simply cease to exist when the leaving player leaves the game. Tokens are not owned by any player, so they are not exiled. Planeswalkers of leaving control. What? It's so weird that it explicitly talks about Planeswalkers. To be exiled along with their other cards. Loyalty abilities on Planeswalkers won't trigger upon leaving. Weird. Okay. So it doesn't go into any of the specificity of like how you got control of that. So if you were to, I've done video on this, if you reanimate a creature out of an opponent's graveyard, so you're stealing, they own the creature, you're now controlling the creature because you stole it out of their graveyard and reanimated it, they didn't have control of that creature card while it was in their graveyard. You don't control cards in your graveyard, and so that means that when I leave the game, you know, from losing or scooping or whatever, the spell that I use, the effect that I use to gain control of it, that layer of control on it, goes away, and therefore now the game just sees this card that never had a controller because again, you don't control cards in graveyard, and so it just goes into exile because of that. Long story short, that's pretty much what that is. So if I were to do it like that, or if I were to use Gonti type effects, like exiling cards of their library, and then I can cast it from exile, again, you don't control the cards in your library, so again, you're kind of like getting around them ever having control. But if I used a steal effect that stole a permanent that was already on the battlefield, now when I leave the game and my effect that was applying a continuous effect of control on that, that is removed from the game, and then the game looks and says like, oh, okay, cool, this was previously controlled by this player, so it'll go back to them and stay in their battlefield, whereas the things that steal them via other means, that's why they end up in exile. So it didn't go into that. So it kind of touches on some of it. Again, I'm reading through this really, really fast, so maybe it does cover that in there, but it didn't seem like it was covering that in that kind of level of specificity. All right, where are we at on the questions? Phased out. Okay, controlled by, yep. All right, last one of the medium. If I cast and resolve Wheel of Fate, then will my Psychosis Crawler die for having 0 toughness? All right, I was just making sure it was picking up all the names of the cards correctly. All right, know your Psychosis Crawler will not die for having 0 toughness in the scenario you described. Interesting, it's never phrased it like that before. Here's why. Wheel of Fate discards first. When you cast Wheel of Fate, it resolves step by step. First, all players discard their hands. Yes. State-based actions later. Things like checking a creature's power and toughness for lethal damage or effects that care about having no creatures in hand are what we call, interesting that is, oh man, I wonder where it pulls this stuff from, is what we call state-based actions. These actions are checked only at specific times, not during the resolution of a spell or ability. Okay, cool. Wheel of Fate resolves fully. Wheel of Fate finishes resolving by making all players draw 7 new cards. Only after this entire process is completed are state-based actions checked. Here's a breakdown of the events. You cast, all players discard, Psychosis becomes 0, but this wasn't checked yet. All players draw 7 cards. State-based actions are checked. Okay, all right, this seems pretty accurate. I want to say that this was like pulled from somebody that made a thing on this, and this is like a really, really classic, popular, well-known kind of like example of this. The whole, when you wheel with a Psychosis Crawler. I think I may have actually done this as the example for my video. So I wonder if I pick lesser-known cards that have these kind of like effects, like CDAs, like what and it doesn't mention CDA in here, but it's a characteristic defining ability for what makes the Psychosis Crawler have its toughness what it is, I wonder if I picked some other lesser-known ones, cards that don't see as much play in Commander, things that people are likely to be asking on forums, on Reddit, on YouTube comments. Specifically, if I pick lesser-known ones, is it going to get these? All right, need a more deep dive into this kind of stuff. I'll probably remember that while I edit this video. Oh man, this video is already, I think, over 30 minutes now. And then in summary, all right, it does the in summary. All right, let's go to the toughest questions section. So let's see where we go here. What are the layers? Let's see if it should still remember. It's done a good job of remembering that we're in Magic. The term layers can have different meanings depending on the context. Here are 2 possible interpretations you might be interested in. All right, so that's layers in Magic. Layers more general. A broader sense of layers can refer to generous hierarchical levels. All right, cool. So it actually does remember that we were talking about Magic, but it also gave me layers for nothing relating to Magic. Why? What? All right. Copy, control, ability removing effects is layer 3. Power toughness is layer 4. Layer 5, other modifying effects. Printing overrides? What is this? Oh my, there are 6 layers? No, there's, all right, this is, again, see, it's fascinating the things that it gets right. Each layer applies its effects one at a time, then the next layer proceeds. Understanding these layers is crucial for resolving complex interactions between auras, abilities, and permanents. I mean, yes, I would have probably phrased it. It's important in resolving like complex interactions between continuous effects, since that's really what it is. And then here's some more resources for MTG. Okay. Oh, look. All right. It does the whole like providing links. Invalid URL removed. Well, that's unfortunate. Article explaining layers, and I can see down there it is linking to MTG Salvation. Let's click it. Does it actually? It just links to their actual website. Yeah, it looked like it was just their website and not, it might be an outdated link or something like that. Yeah. Huh. It doesn't actually link to the article, but it thinks it does. All right, let's try. I want to ask it again, but yeah, I'm thinking because it got confused and maybe thought I was asking about layers of other things. What are the layers in Magic the Gathering? All right, let's see if it gets more correct. All right. Ah, now see, look at this. Now we're actually, all right, copy, control. No, it's still getting it wrong with layer 3 being ability removing. That's layer 6. Power toughness is 7. Let's see what it says about that, because there's a lot of sub layers in here. This layer handles modifications to a permanent's power and toughness. It includes auras that grant +1/+1 counters. No, auras can grant +1/+1. You could have auras that cause counters, but it's weird that it would phrase it like that. Spells that deal damage? What? Or abilities that modify power toughness based on certain conditions. These effects are applied in timestamp order. Ah, okay, it's jumping ahead to timestamp, but it, yeah, I mean, all layers are done in timestamp order when they are applying the same, but it's just weird that it just says these effects. All right, the order they entered the battlefield or stack. All right, what does it mean by other modifying effects? This is interesting that it actually gives more details as to this. Let's see if it actually, all right, control, let's see, copy, yeah, clone, mirror weave, okay. Control changing here effects applied includes spells like active treason, yeah, applying, okay. Humility, yeah, classic. Okay, so got most of that kind of right. Again, I skimmed really fast. Don't call me out on it, guys, if I said it was correct, but there was like some stuff in there wrong. I'm trying to be quick. Power toughness, all right, we did that one. All right, other modifying. All right, this layer encompasses a wider range of effects that can alter a permanent's characteristics. It can include things like color changes from Painter's Servant, mana cost modifications. No, that's not it. Or effects that change a creature's type. Okay, well, it got color and it got type. Similar to layer 4, which it thinks is power toughness, these effects are applied in timestamp order. Well, yeah, similar to all the layers. These are all applied in timestamp order when they apply in the same layer. Printing overrides. All right, let's see if this actually is talking about like printing paper or something. The final layer, no, there's 7. The final layer considers any inherent qualities or exceptions a permanent has printed on its card text. This overrides any effects applied from previous layers. For instance, a creature with hexproof can't be targeted by auras or spells, even if effects from earlier layers try to remove hexproof or allow targeting. This is a wild thing. I mean, what? This is weird. Understanding layers. Yeah, AI, you need to understand layers. By understanding the layer system, you can predict how multiple effects will interact with a permanent. Okay, replacement effects, yes. Not really. I mean, it's continuous effect. This is especially important in situations where multiple auras, abilities, and spells are affecting the same creature or artifact. Weird that it singles that out. You can have continuous effects applying to anything, even to players. Lots of objects. It helps you determine the final power, toughness, abilities, and controller of the permanent. And then, Ona's removed. And it's linking to MTG Fandom Wiki. Okay, this actually might be layer. Yeah. All right, see, hey, look. That's so weird. It provides the citation, and yet here we can see the 7 layers, and we can see that layer 4 is not what it thinks layer 4 is, which is power. That's where? How? What is the math? What is the brain? And then article explaining layers. Invalid URL removed. Okay, let's continue on. What are dependencies? And this might be one where it doesn't know that I'm specifically asking about magic. In the context of computers and software development, dependencies are essentially... Wow, this one didn't go anywhere at Magic like it did the layers one. And it's just a bunch of dependency management. Okay, cool. Let's what are dependencies in Magic the Gathering? All right. In Magic the Gathering, dependencies are a specific rule concept used to determine the order in which certain continuous effects are applied. They come into play when multiple effects would be applied in the same layer and sublayer, explained below, and one of those effects would affect the existence or functionality of another. Okay, here's a breakdown of how it works. Continuous effects. Examples include auras, equipment, and some static abilities. Okay. Layers and sublayers. The MTG layer system dictates the order in which continuous effects applied. There are 6 main layers. Where is it pulling this from? And some layers have further sublayers for more specific effects. You can find a detailed explanation, and it's a link to that fandom wiki again. Dependency. An effect is considered dependent on another effect if they are both in the same layer and sublayer, meaning they would be, okay, yep. Applying one effect would change the existence, text, what it applies to, or how it affects the things it applies to, yeah. Neither effect is a characteristic defining ability, like flying or haste being inherent to a creature. Okay, that's kind of interesting. That is true that CDAs, yeah, okay. They're not really a layer. What happens with dependent... Oh, wow, this is a long one, too. Independent effects first, yeah, okay. That doesn't affect... Oh, yeah, dependent effects, weights, yeah, okay, I'm not going to read through that all. Dependency loops, okay, in rare cases, circular dependency loop from where to... in such cases, dependency is ignored and the effects are simply applied in timestamp order. Okay, very interesting, very interesting. So far, it's mostly good. Why are dependencies important? Dependencies ensure a clear and consistent application of continuous effects. Applying, yes, without the game state would be unpredictable. All right, here's an example. Oh, cool. You control a creature with an aura that gives it +1/+1. Okay. You cast another aura that grants +2/+2, but says enchant creature with no auras. Okay. The second aura can't enchant the creature because the first aura already exists. The dependency rule sees the... Okay, I'm surprised it didn't just go with like the classic like Blood Moon, Urberg kind of thing. Where does it pull this info from? Like, that's so weird. That's so strange that it pulls these things. All right, in summary, dependencies help determine the order for applying continuous effects. Yeah, they ensure the clear and consistent. Yep, and understanding is crucial for making informed decisions on predicting. It's so weird that it says and predicting how it's just understanding. You're not really predicting. You're not predicting what a player is going to do. It's weird that it phrases that. Okay. I said, okay, provide some. All right. It did an example. It was a bad example, though. Let's see what it does when we ask it. Provide some examples of Magic the Gathering dependencies. Yeah, I kind of cheated. I added my own text there, but all right, here's some examples. Okay, cool. Aura and removal. Scenario, you have a creature enchanted with Aura of Growth. Is that a real... Can I just copy? Dang it. I need to remove my mouse. That is not... Wow, it's just straight up creating new cards. Okay. You have a creature enchanted with Aura of Growth, gives +1/+1. Your opponent casts Pacifism. That is a real one. Enchanted creature gains Defender. That is not what it does. Stop it from attacking, but it's technically that doesn't mean that it gains Defender. There are certain cards that care about Defender. It also says that it can't attack or block, so that's kind of the polar opposite of what Defender is, which you can still block. Targeting your creature. Okay, dependency. Pacifism has a dependency because it can't enchant a creature that already has an aura. No, that's not true. It can. I'm sure there might be a pacifism type of aura out there that's similar to it that says that it can't enchant. Man, this is so weird. Aura of Growth doesn't care about pacifism being present. Weird phrasing there, being present. Resolution. Aura of Growth applies first as the independent effect, giving... All right, whatever. That one's bad. Combat buffs and removal. Scenario, you attack with a creature and cast Giant Growth, a real thing. Gives +3/+3 until end of turn. Oh my god, it actually got it correct. Target creature gets +3. Okay. On it before combat... all right, so you cast it before combat damage. Your opponent casts Doomblade. Destroy target creature. Yes, targeting your creature. Wow, look at that. 2 in a row. Dependency. Doomblade, what? Doomblade has a dependency because it can't destroy a creature that already has a buff applied till end of turn. We didn't get the turkey. We didn't get 3 in a row. Oh, wow. Giant Growth doesn't care about Doomblade. Yeah, it doesn't. These are not continuous effects. Resolution, blah, blah. Yeah, it's wrong. Color change and removal. Scenario, your opponent controls a blue creature. You cast Mystic Veil. Enchant creature becomes black. That sounds like a blue card, Mystic Veil. That doesn't even sound like a real card. Paste, and I gotta move my hand. Oh my god, it is a real card. From Visions. Man, I'm ashamed that I don't remember this. Enchanted creature has Shroud. Okay, well, it's a real card. It is an actual aura, but it, oh, and it has, oh, okay, it's one of those cards that were really, really popular back then where you could do them as a, but you have to sacrifice it. Okay. Wow. It got the right name. It got an aura, but it does not turn that. All right, what does it then go with? Yeah. Targeting their creature, then cast Disfigure, destroy target black creature. I remember the art on this card. I think it's from like, God, I want to say Odyssey, but I'm going to be wrong. Nope, Zendikar. Dang, but I do remember the art. Yeah, very, very unique art. I hate seeing very unique. Target creature gets -2/-2, so it does not care about that. All right, so it just kept getting things wrong. These are just a few examples. Yeah, they're wrong. Dependencies can arise in various situations based on the wording of effects. Understanding layer system and dependency rules will help you navigate complex. All right, okay. Man, this is some fascinating stuff. I really wish I had done AI stuff so long ago. All right, where did we leave off? All right, oh my gosh, we still got 4 more. All right, water state. Oh, okay, cool. What are state-based actions? Let's see if it does it magic specific. I don't think too many lines of work or anything. All right, yeah, state-based actions are the behind-the-scenes rules in Magic the Gathering that ensure the game maintains a valid and logical state. These actions happen automatically at specific times and cannot be responded to by players. Here's a breakdown of SBAs. Maintaining game state. They keep the game in a consistent and playable state by removing creatures with lethal damage. It's weird that it says removing. I mean, it sends them to the graveyard, but that's not exile or, okay. Enforcing certain rules like the legend rule, ooh, okay. And checking for situations that would make a player lose the game, all right. Automatic checks. State-based actions are checked at specific points in the game. Whenever a player would get priority, the chance to take actions like casting spells or activating abilities, this is the most frequent check. During the cleanup step, at the end of each turn, as a result of another state-based action. Yeah, okay, creature dying can trigger another, can trigger another state-based action. Okay, doesn't really trigger. SBAs are not triggered abilities. Examples of, all right, destroy creatures with lethal damage. Damage marked on a creature doesn't carry over to the next turn. So weird that that's what it talks about. Exile planeswalkers with 0 or less loyalty. No, they don't exile. Discard your hand if you have more than 7 cards. This happens at the beginning of your draw step if you already have 7 cards. What? All right, the reminder text, I say that because it's in parentheses. That's wild. Also, you're not discarding your whole hand. You discard down to whatever your current max hand size is, the default being set. Okay. Put tapped permanents that entered the battlefield this turn under your control. What? This applies to creatures with summoning sickness? What does that even mean? Enforce the legend rule. All right, it's mentioning the legend. All right, let's see what it says here. Does it say sacrifice? If you control 2 or more legendary permanents with the same name, so far so good, you must choose one, so far so good, to keep, and the others are destroyed. Oh, it was so close. I actually thought it was going to say sacrifice because everybody always says sacrifice, that the legend rule causes you to sacrifice, but it doesn't actually like trigger something like Corvold that cares about things being sacrificed. Man, it got so close, and they're definitely not destroyed. If a creature is indestructible, the legend rule doesn't save them. or that the indestructibility does not save them from the legend rule. All right, no response allowed. Unlike triggered abilities, you cannot respond to state-based actions with spells or abilities. They happen automatically as part of the game's internal checks. That's correct. It's weird that it does specify that they're not triggered abilities, yet it did say triggering, I think, up here. Why are state-based? Okay, state-based actions are crucial for a fair and consistent gameplay. They ensure that the game is kind of the same thing it was talking about with other things. Here's some resources. Oh, Fandom Wiki, state-based actions, and it looks like that actually does link to it. Article explaining, and article, but it's Reddit. Interesting that it frames it. Okay, and it's the MTG Rules subreddit. How the hell does this stack? All right, I'm curious what this one is. That's a lot. And this is from a year ago. Okay, interesting. Hopefully I blot out the right things. I don't want personal information being shown on there, so we'll see how I do on that. All right, where are we at? If I control, okay. Here's this is a specific example. My microphone is in the way. If I control 4 treasure tokens and no lands, can I use those treasures to cast a Mirror Enforcer? Gotta respell that. Mirror Enforcer. All right, if I control 4 or more treasure tokens and no lands, can I use those treasures to cast my Mirror Enforcer? All right, so I was very specifically, like, pretty vague with this. I didn't mention affinity in the question and steps to casting spells and things like that. So let's see what it comes up with. This was actually really, really fun. I want to do this a few more times. Yes, you can use your 4 treasure tokens to cast Mirror Enforcer, even though you don't control any lands. Here's why. Treasure token ability. Treasure tokens have an activated ability that taps the token and adds 1 mana of any color. Yeah, all right, this means you can use it for any colored mana. So yeah. Mana abilities before lands checked. When casting a spell, you can activate mana abilities like the one on treasure tokens before the game checks if you have enough lands to pay for colored mana costs. It hasn't mentioned anything about affinity yet, about locking in costs. Mirror Enforcer's cost. Mirror Enforcer has a casting cost of 7. By tapping all 4 of the treasure tokens, you can generate 4 mana of any color, 1 from each treasure. This is enough to pay for the colored mana requirement of Mirror Enforcer, even though you don't have any land. That's all right. So this is correct. Yes, you can, but it doesn't mention the reason why the 4 mana, you would actually only need 3 mana because the 4 treasures would reduce it through affinity down to a costing 3, and you would have to only sacrifice 3 of the treasures. So it doesn't mention anything about locking in costs. It doesn't mention anything about affinity. It doesn't mention that you actually only would have to sacrifice 3 of the treasures. I think it just keeps saying 4. Yeah, tapping all 4 of your treasure tokens. Weird that it just says tapping and not also sacrificing. It could have just said activating them, because that would mean both entry. All right, here's a breakdown of steps. All right, here. All right, it may say it here. Typing all this adds 4 mana. The game checks if you have enough mana to pay for the colored mana symbols. In Mirror Enforcer's cost, 2 blue, black, red. Since you have 4 mana of any color available, this check succeeds. All right, well that's 2 blue, black, and red is 5 mana. Where it's coming up with that, I don't know. You can pay the 4 mana of any color for your mana pool to cast Mirror Enforcer. The game then checks if you have enough generic mana to cast Mirror Enforcer. It's weird that it does these bracket things. It's mentioned it up here, represented by that. It's telling you that represents generic mana. Oh, interesting. Since you don't have any lands, the game doesn't care. You can make a landless deck. It doesn't. All right, you would fail this check if it happened before step 3. However, the generic mana check happens after the colored mana check. What is this? Because you already paid for the colored mana using treasure tokens, the lack of lands to pay for generic mana doesn't prevent. Man, it's so crazy that it can get so right in that, yes, you could do this, but its reasoning behind it is so wrong, and then it comes up with this excess information about like the cost of it having color. Oh, wow, this is fascinating. And I think there's a way to like see, oh yeah, that's to listen. Oh yeah, totally, but it shows drafts. Oh God, I hope I didn't just break it by trying to get it to show the drafts. Please don't break it. But yeah, you can like see, yeah, look at all this. You can, and I guess if you click on it, it'll show it. right here. Most of the, yeah, okay, you can see there's a little bit of difference in them. But you can see, I guess these are like some of the earlier things, and this is the one that it displays that it thinks is the most correct. So that's pretty interesting. All right, where do we leave off? All right, here we go. If my opponent controls only an Urberg Tomb of Yawgmoth, and I play Castle Lochthwain as my first land, will it enter tapped? And then we got to make sure we spell all this correct. All right, if my opponent controls only an Urborg, let's do the comma in there. Tomb of, that's kind of my fault. I did it, and I kind of did it. Needs a Yawgmoth. I think I spelled that right. And I play Castle it's Thwain, isn't it? Lochthwain. See, it's A-I-N. Lochthwain as my first land. Will it enter tapped? Okay. Oh man, this is really cool. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this. This is, man, all right. I wonder how much holy crap, that is going to be a really big file for my audio. Okay, where are we at? Okay, yes, your Castle Lochthwain will still enter the battlefield tapped, even if your opponent controls Urberg Tomb of Yawgmoth, and it's your first land for the turn. Here's why. Castle Lochthwain's text: this land has an inherent ability that causes it to enter the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp. Urberg's text: Urberg Tomb of Yawgmoth grants all basic lands the ability to tap for black mana. That is wrong. I mean, it's right. It does give them that ability, but it's not limited to basic, and it doesn't necessarily give them the ability. It just makes them swamps in addition, and swamps inherently have the ability. All right. However, it doesn't change the land types of those basic lands. No, I mean, yes, it doesn't change it. It adds in addition. Without making it remove other types. Okay, Castle Lochthwain, not a swamp. Weird. Okay, Castle Lochthwain is a legendary land. Is it? Is it? Is it with a K? No, Lochthwain. Castle Lochthwain, not a legendary swamp, or not a legendary land. Castle Lochthwain is a legendary land with the land type castle, not swamp. It doesn't even have, let me check the errata, the Oracle text. Yep, there's not a castle type as far as I can tell. Not swamp. Urberg's ability only affects basic lands. Oh man, this thing got it wrong because it thinks that it only affects basic, not other land types like castle. This is wild. Effects checked on resolution. Castle Lochthwain's ability that checks for a swamp to enter untapped triggers. What? It's a replacement effect for how it enters. Triggers upon resolution, not when you play the land. By the time the game checks for a swamp, Urberg's ability has already applied, making your opponent's basic lands tap for... Yeah, it makes everybody's lands, not your opponent's. But it hasn't changed their land types since you don't control a swamp. Dang, it missed it, but for like stupider reasons that it shouldn't have missed it. So yeah, replacement effects are things that they look forward in time. So when the Castle Lochthwain is coming in, it would look ahead towards what the battlefield looks like at that time, and it doesn't see you having any lands that would be considered swamps from the Urberg, and so yeah. It's kind of a weird thing. So yeah, it wouldn't see your swampified Castle Lochthwain to see that you have a swampified Castle Lochthwain, and that's why it doesn't. But this is just, it's coming up with wrong reason. It got right that it does enter tapped, but again, I got the reasons wrong. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's see. Oh, is this the last one? Oh, but I've got like a follow-up to it. All right, let's see. If I have a devotion to green mana of 4 when I cast my Nylea, God of the Hunt, will it cause my tribute to the World Tree to trigger when the Nylea enters the battlefield? All right, and it spelled that one right, but I must have not enunciated it all too well. Nylea. Okay, if I have a devotion to green, 2 N's in mana, weird. Of 4, when I cast my Nylea, God of the Hunt, will it cause my tribute? Tribute of the World Tree to trigger when the Nylea enters the battlefield. Okay, let's see what it comes up with. Then we got a follow-up to it. No, having a devotion to green mana. Ooh, did you guys see that? It kind of like updated. I wonder if it loaded one of the drafts and then it replaced it. No, having a devotion to green mana of 4 when you cast Nylea, God of the Hunt, will not trigger. Well, yeah, because Nylea does, the tribute doesn't trigger on. It doesn't trigger on cast. It triggers on ATB. Will not trigger tribute to the World Tree when Nylea. Okay, enters the battlefield. Here's why. Nylea's trigger timing. Nylea, God of the Hunt's ability that triggers other creatures you control gain trample only happens if Nylea enters the battlefield as a creature. Okay, first off, that's not a triggered ability, and she does give trample to other creatures no matter if she's a creature or not. This depends on your devotion to green mana at the time Nylea resolves and enters, not when you cast it. No, her devotion thing determining if she's a creature is constantly checking while she's a creature, not just while she's on the battlefield, not right when she enters. And she's also even a creature no matter what your devotion is when she's a spell on the stack or just a card in another zone. Devotion check on resolution. The game checks your devotion to green mana when Nylea resolves, not when you cast it. This means any mana symbols from lands that's not what determines your devotion. You play after casting Nylea, but before it resolves, will be counted towards your devotion for determining if it enters as a creature. Devotion is the little actual like mana symbol pips that show up in the costs of permanents, not mana that you've produced through lands or other like mana abilities. Tribute trigger. Tribute to the World Tree's triggered ability triggers whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control that has a power 4 or greater. Oh, cool. It actually got the effect correct. However, for this ability to trigger, Nylea needs to be a creature when it enters the battlefield. Okay, that actually, yeah, it does. If your devotion was like way less and she didn't enter as a creature, then yes, that is correct. But my whole question is here, her ability to determine whether she's a creature or not. So the answer to this one is that the trigger would actually trigger for the Tribute of the World Tree. There's no point when she is on the field that she wouldn't have seen that devotion. She has a static ability. It is just straight up that static ability is either true or it is either not true. So yeah, there's no point that she would exist on the field in which she wasn't a creature. So it would trigger, but I don't know what a lot of this stuff is saying. So it said no. So it actually did get that wrong. If you had 4 devotion and then Nylea entered and her own mana, her own devotion that she added would get you to 5, she would enter as a creature, triggering that. All right. Scenario breakdown. Okay, let's see. 4 at this point. Important point here. Your devotion to green mana is relevant. Yeah, all of this is relevant. That's the whole point. That's the whole purpose of this question. But it might not be 4 by the time Nylea resolves. But it is once it's resolving, like players can't then interact and like kill one of your things. You play other lands if any before Nylea resolves. You can't. What? I mean, you could respond with like a spell that puts a land into play, but you don't play. That's a special action, and that whatever. This could increase your devotion. It still thinks that lands are what causes your devotion. Devotion check. When Nylea resolves, the game checks your devotion to green mana. If your devotion to green mana is 4 or more, Nylea enters the battlefield as a creature, and its own ability triggers granting trample. That's not a triggered ability. Yeah. If your devotion to green is less than 4, Nylea enters the battlefield as an enchantment and none of its abilities trigger, including Man, I mean, yes, if it didn't enter as a creature, if your devotion wasn't high enough, it would exclude. It would not trigger the tribute to the World Tree. Okay, all right. And then last one. Let's see if it gets this one. If I have a devotion to green mana of 4 when I cast my Nylea, God of the Hunt, will my Arwen, Weaver of Hope, cause the Nylea to enter with 2+1/+1 counters on it. Alright, let's see if it... Alright, if I have a devotion to green mana of 4 when I cast my Nylea, God of the Hunt, will my Arwen... Okay, it did spell that, yep. Arwen, Weaver of Hope, cause the... Nylea... to enter with 2+1/+1 counters on it. It's interesting that it phrased it like that. Let's see what happens when we submit, if it understands +1/+1 counters when I'm saying it. Clearly, it's done a good job of displaying things as, you know, plus numeral 1. Yeah, see, it does good. All right. No, having a devotion to green mana of 4 when you cast Nylea, God of the Hunt, will not cause Arwen, Weaver of Hope to put +1/+1 counters on Nylea when it enters the battlefield. Here's why. Okay, it got it right so far. The answer to this one for the World Tree is yes, because it's a triggered ability. They look back in time to see if an event has happened to trigger them. And then this one, R1 has a replacement effect that looks forward in time, similar to that land thing. Her R1's replacement effect would look forward in time to check, and when it looks forward, it would only see that you have a devotion of 4. Therefore, the ability on the Nylea would say, hey, I only have 4 devotion. I'm not a creature. So her replacement effect isn't going to say, okay, cool, now as a creature, you're going to enter with these counters. That would not replace it. So let's see if what I just said, if it got that. Arwen's trigger condition, again, it's not a triggered ability, it's a replacement effect. Arwen Weaver of Hope's ability that adds +1/+1 counters, triggers, and doesn't, only when a creature enters the battlefield under your control. Okay, I mean, yeah, yeah. Nylea's entry as a creature. Nylea enters the battlefield as a creature only if your devotion to green mana is 4 or more. No, it has to be 5 or more when it resolves, not when you cast it. 2 separate events. These are 2 separate events. Okay, cool. Casting Nylea. When you cast Nylea, the devotion check for Nylea being a creature doesn't happen yet. Arwen's ability doesn't trigger. It doesn't trigger at this point because nothing is entering the battlefield. Nylea resolving. When Nylea resolves, the game checks your devotion to green mana. If it's 4 or more, Nylea enters as a creature. No, it has to be 5 or more. However, Arwen's ability specifically targets creatures entering the battlefield, and since Nylea wasn't a creature when it entered, it won't trigger Arwen's ability to add counters. Devotion can change, yeah. It's important to remember that your devotion to green mana can change between casting Nylea and when it resolves. Yes, you could flash out permanents that have devotion to green. You could create token copies of permanents. Those tokens, remember, as we asked up here, token copies of something that had that. Okay, if you play an additional green mana sources, that's weird that it does singular here and then says sources plural. Man, that's so wrong. It could influence whether it enters as a creature. In summary, Arwen's ability only triggers for creatures entering the battlefield. Nylea's only, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this fascinating look into this. I cannot wait to see how long it takes for this video to render, with it being, golly, around an hour long. Please, if you have stuck around to this long, you must be very bored. You're probably at work or driving to work or something like that. I do appreciate it, though. I don't want to sound condescending or something like that. I love to watch this kind of content on YouTube myself. I really like longer videos. They are really, really fascinating, especially the stuff like this. I don't know if anybody's done this before. I did a quick Google search to see if anybody's built magic decks with an AI. I didn't really watch them. I was just curious if people have done it. I don't think anybody's done it with Gemini, though. Most people have probably used ChatGPT. I plan to make a video doing that. I want to do a lot more of this. This is really, really fascinating. AI is going to change our world, just like how the internet and access to things like Gatherer, Scryfall, and EDHREC, when it came around for specifically EDH, the Commander format, that kind of stuff gave players an immense tool, an immense access to shared information, but it was done by human-created algorithms. The guys that made EDHREC, they created the algorithms. They explicitly told how that site would display that and how they would skim other databases, other website deck-building sites. And this is what you guys get when I don't have like a strict script. I just, man, I kind of rant and whatnot and say a lot. So like that gave us access to an immense amount of tools through the internet. And people creating decks, you didn't have to be as knowledgeable about magic cards. You didn't have to have them all memorized. You didn't have to know how to properly go onto Gatherer or Scryfall and type very specific search terms. You just go and see what other people were doing. And that is great. That's great for new players that are new to the game, that don't have a lot of cards in their knowledge base. It's great for people that don't have a lot of time. People not like myself, who I have a full-time job, but I'm addicted to Magic. I love building decks and stuff. So I love to actually spend hours and hours and hours building a deck and fine-tuning a deck list, whereas other people that have kids and jobs and stuff like that, for them, they may not have more than an hour to build a deck. They just want to, something quick and just see, hey, what are other people using? So that's a great tool. The drawback to that is that it can be in this like echo chamber kind of thing. If there is a precon, if there's a commander that was leading a precon, then the cards in that precon that were not really great for it, they might still show up on there because people either they included it when they put their list together, maybe they just copy and pasted for like a starting point. They just copy and pasted the actual deck list for those precons, and therefore those cards they show up there when I go to search for Arwen, and I see the cards that were on there. Because it was on there, I think, as a new player, I may not think to question why that card is showing up on the list, so I just keep it on that list. And now that is in my deck list on Moxfield or Tapped Out or whatever sites. I can't remember the exact ones that EDH Rec is able to pull from, but now it's on my list. So when EDH Rec does their they scroll through and read all the new deck lists, it's going to read it, and my deck list is going to show that card is in there. So that kind of snowballs, and it's going to keep showing up because it keeps showing up. Newer players may not question that kind of stuff, and it can lead to non-bows, cards that players think impact something. They don't, but because it's on the list, people think it does, and that generates false information about how like card interactions work and how rules interact and such. But yeah, so it can lead to this kind of negative thing. So that's a long roundabout way, or not even whatever. That's a long way to say how AI might be the next giant impact in Commander deck building, Commander deck building 3.0. First it was pre-internet deck building, and then we were in a post-EDH Rec world. Soon we might be in a post-AI deck list world. How is AI going to do that? So I'm really curious. I do want to make a video on that. So you'll probably get it. Maybe I'll actually watch what other people did. I don't know. I kind of want to do one. Maybe you'll do one without watching anybody else's videos, so that I go in totally blind. Especially if I'm using this Google Gemini thing. I might be the first one to do it. I don't know. And so yeah, that'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, so feel free, please comment on this video if you guys got to this point. Please give me some comments. If you spotted anything in the text, if you paused at any point and you saw some of the text, if you saw some errors in what the AI said that I didn't catch, then let me know about that. Post it in the comments below. If you guys have any additional questions, again, I don't want to get too specific into just asking a whole bunch of like hyper-specific things. I kind of want to ask questions that I think players would ask. If we can get to the future where I can have the Gemini app on my phone, I'm mid-game, I don't have the time, it's a casual thing, I don't have an actual judge for an event that I can call over. You would have to have. You can't just ask your phone in a tournament setting or something like that. But in a just casual Commander, you guys are at an LGS or you're at a friend's house and you don't have a judge on hand, maybe you do go to, you try to Google it, and there's no results, could you just then open up this Gemini or ChatGPT and ask it, will it be able to provide you? And from what I've seen here, I would not be optimistic. What is the percentage of these? Let's see, what are these? Are there any that it got 100% correct? Phasing, no. Here's it got wrong. Dependencies, I want to say there's an aspect of every one of them that it got wrong. There was the one example where it gave us two specific cards, and it actually did get them right, but then it screwed up on stuff like pacifism, like really, really simple things. Maybe I do a separate video about like similar effects, asking the same questions over and over. Does it give me different results if I ask the same question, but like with variation to the question? If I phrase things differently, do we get different results? That could be a potential thing in the future. Yeah, I think, okay, some of the earlier ones though, okay, yeah, obviously the easy questions, it did get a lot of them right. It got the shrine part right, the food part, the crew part. I think it actually did get 100% of it. So I think most of these it did get right. Yep. I think so. So yeah, very, very fascinating. I don't know. I find this incredibly fascinating. Do you guys think this is interesting? Is this something that you would like to see in the future? Would you like to see more of these AI rules videos? Do you want to see the AI created deck? Oh yeah, there was that one question where it straight up created a new card. It was like Aura of Growth or something like that when we were talking about dependencies, I think is when it created that. Is that something you would be interested in seeing? AI created cards with like new abilities and stuff. I would love to make videos. I have dozens, maybe even over 100 custom created my creations of magic cards that I would love to do. Maybe one day when I have somebody that can like help me create these cards so I can actually display them with like original art. Maybe I use AI art. I hear the internet loves to hear about people using AI art. So yeah, maybe I could find somebody to help out with that. That would take a lot of time. My channel is way too small. It does not generate enough money to dedicate the amount of time that I spend on this channel, but I don't care. I'm passionate about this. I love doing this. So I do hope that it eventually can grow one day and I can dedicate more time into this and I can have more budget with higher production value with a better display so that I'm not just having to record my screen like this with text Google Docs on here. So that would be really, really cool to show some custom card ideas that I have made, but what about AI created ones? Do you guys think WotC is using AI to come up with things, to come up with new cards? That'd be a pretty interesting thing. So, all right, this video has gotten long enough already. I've got to go pick up a family member from the airport in just a bit, and I cannot wait to see how long it takes this video to be rendered. I may not do any editing at all. We may just do this completely raw and you guys hear all my sniffles. I don't know if I sniffled a lot, but I did cough at one point, so we'll see. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Is this the kind of content that you guys would be interested in seeing? Don't worry, I will not let this replace the Tough Rules and Cool Interactions series. That's still like the main passionate thing that I have. I love to explain things and help players become better players. Even if this channel does grow crazy, crazy big, I think that'll always be like the main driving force behind a lot of the content. For now, it's just easy for me to do because the production of it doesn't take a lot. I don't need to have an editor. I mean, it would help for sure, but I don't need to have anybody doing effects on screen. I wish I could for some of these things. Some of these things are very complex and they're hard to just convey via voice, via text, via verbal speaking. And it'd be nice to have a visual representation on screen showing you like the stack and things like that. There's a lot of content that I would like to do, but I don't think I can do it because I feel like it'd be too confusing to show. Maybe I can use AI to help with that. I wonder if there's an AI. I heard that there's like an AI editor for videos. I wonder if it can do like on-screen stuff. I don't want to use too much AI. I would like to be able to have a human that I can actually pay for their services to do this kind of stuff, but maybe I can learn it myself. Maybe I can use AI to teach me. There's the world. The future of AI it's a crazy complex thing. All right, I'm going to stop talking now before I say something that's going to get me in trouble with the internet. I hope that I haven't. I hope my distance from the mic. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a few high level pops and stuff in there. So hopefully I haven't changed my distance from the microphone too much, and I've been looking away from the direction of my microphone a lot in this video. This is very rough around the edges, but hey, that's what happens when you're a channel with like sub 4,000 subs, less than 4,000 subscribers, is you get this very low budget kind of stuff. So, all right, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I look forward to reading hopefully a lot of the comments. This is an hour-long video, longest thing I've done yet. And I hope that it was not all for nothing. I hope that it has entertained some of you guys. Oh man, I usually have like my text, my script pulled up, these crazy rules in this great game of Magic or whatever it is that I say. But yeah, I don't have a sign off. for this one. I don't have a script for it, so yeah. But I do hope you guys have been entertained by this. I hope I didn't get too monotonous and monotone with some of my words that I was saying, like I am right now. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I think I've said that now 5 times or whatever. That I hope you guys, more than that, you guys have enjoyed it. But I hope this was educational as well. It definitely was for me. Man, I've learned a lot about AI. I mean, I also have more questions now. I've learned a lot, but I'm almost even more confused. And yeah, let me know if you guys want to see more of this. And yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying Magic the Gathering. It's going through a lot of changes with Universes Beyond, a lot of sets coming out, Commanders growing. But I hope you guys are enjoying the game as much as I am, if not more. God help you if you are enjoying it more than I am. Your wallet, oh boy, that's probably going to be dangerous for your wallet if you enjoy this game more than me. So yeah, hope you guys are enjoying all this. Hope this was entertaining. I hope I didn't rant too much. I'm still ranting. All right, have a good one. Ta-ta. Oh man. And now, watch me go to retrieve the audio or video of this, and it be wrong. It didn't save. It's corrupted. Something's gonna go wrong. I just wasted an hour of my day, I bet. How do I stop my... Okay, please don't get corrupt. Please don't get corrupt.